Let's just talk about, though, the standoff that continues between the Retail Grocers Association and the government. You hear the Prime Minister saying, listen, the laws will be enforced, meaning that, and I think Michael Halkitis followed and said, listen, price control has been empowered to go out there and start checking prices, etc. Meantime, the Grocers Association are sort of threatening that, wait a minute now, who y'all checking where? Because you may not even have stores to walk into during the holiday season. Your thoughts about how this has just been dragging on?
Well, I mean, this is how we predicted this. I mean, remember we said to Michael Halkitis and the Prime Minister, do not force the arm of the Pharmaceutical Association. Sit down and negotiate, right? They came back and they sat down and negotiate. Then he can say, oh, we got more than we expected. When you sit down and negotiate with the private sector, you never know what you get. If you try to force your way into the private sector, then you're going to end up in trouble. You know, the Prime Minister is an attorney. He is the private sector. Can we go into his law firm and say that you only could charge X amount of fees for these services to the general public because the people are poor? Can you do that in the legal profession? Can you do it in the accounting profession? You know, where does it end? You know, you're saying, oh, the Retail Association, they're greedy. But the lawyers kill you as well, too, and you're an attorney.
Well, the Prime Minister perhaps is saying, you know, Cassius, I hear you, but not everybody needs a lawyer. People need food, and he's trying to sort of somehow balance that with the impact of inflation and all that stuff for the people who desperately need the break and the relief. And so that is why he's stepping into that space.
But the question is, where does it end, though? I mean, I need a kid of fish right now. Do you go to the fisherman and tell them they can only charge $50 for a kid of fish? Right now, $150 is too much for the poor man. You understand? How do you regulate the private sector? By force, and that is communism. And so, you know, it's very scary when you see the government using this bullying tactic to regulate the private sector. If you sit down with the private sector and you negotiate, like we said, negotiate with the Pharmaceutical Association, you got what you wanted and more. Do the very same thing with the Retail Association. Don't force them by law, because what happens is that it's a pushback. Because the same license they have, the lawyers have, the accountants have, everybody got the same license. And so if you could cross over into their jurisdiction and force their pricing, why can't we do it to the attorneys? Why can't we do it to the real estate? Why can't we do it to the fisherman? And where does it stop? Do you tell the mechanic that he can only charge $20 for oil change now? Because, you understand? Where does it stop? Do you tell the beauticians who are watching this to listen, you can't charge no more than $20 for nails, and for hairdo, plus a combo, only $60 you can charge max? Where does it stop? And so you got to be very, very careful. People look at it and say, oh, that's them. But you may be running a business too. If the government could regulate them, they should be able to regulate you as well too. And so the private sector is controlled by market forces. And we got to allow market forces to be able to determine the prices. If the government wants some relief, then you sit down with the people and say, listen, we will provide you relief here, and we would like for you to consider providing relief here and here. Meet us halfway. But for you to come and say, by law, we can come and lock you up and we can send this, that's not the way to do it. That's not the way to do it. And they should have learned from the first example from the Retail Association. You got more than you anticipated for when you sat down and negotiate.
Is Rupert Roberts then, because I heard people, from attacking him to saying, okay, they appreciate the fact that he's making them aware of where prices still remain and price points remain. But should he just be quiet and let this play out, or what he's doing in terms of warning people that, listen, hey, when you show up to the store, one, you should make this a priority and show up there first to be able to ensure that you have your food. But when you show up, expect to pay more.
Yeah, I think because he's it seems as if he has a hand on his inventory, and he knows what's coming in, and he knows cost across the board. And so when you have an increase in commodity prices across the board, remember now, United States was almost at the railroad strike, and that would have crippled their whole economy. So that would have been affecting the whole situation as well too. But when you're looking at, increase in costs across the board, if I know I'm paying 30% more for eggs, and I saw the price on eggs today was like crazy, eh? And so
when you can find them.
Yes, I think it was $17 something like that for a pack of eggs, or $7 something.
But
anyway,
hold on, Cassius says not $17 for a box of
I can look when we go off the break, and I'll show it to you. But anyway, when he sees an increase in his costs, then he knows that he have to pass that on. They're not going to absorb the costs. But I see, it's it's something that we've been talking about a long time, that, you know, we have this inflation across the board. Inflation means prices isn't going up. And, you know, what happened, the cost of your dollar is going down, because when the government put taxes on your money, that means you only have less spending money. So right now, for every dollar you spend, the government gets, what, 10%? So 10 cents of every dollar. So you only have 90 cents. And so when you're looking at inflation is now, if inflation is 9%, that's an additional 9 cents off. So you only got, what, 81 cents. And so for every dollar. And so we got to be very careful, though, and, you know, watch how you spend. And, you know, if you don't need to get, you know, 6 of this, 6 of that, cut back, because it's going to be, it's really hard now in the food store. It's really, really hard.
Please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also follow our TikTok account. Thanks.